everybody, and welcome to another class with Nourishing Generations. I'm Ashley, your nutrition educator, and of course I'm here with our chef, Sky. Hi Sky, how's it going today?
Hi everybody, Chef Sky here. I'm doing great. I'm happy to be back for another week, another class, and excited to cook some great breakfast foods together.
I'm really excited about today's class. We're going to talk about healthy breakfast. Did you know that breakfast is one, if not the most important meal of the day? Yes, breakfast is so important that we need to get that engine running by filling it with healthy food. So let's talk a little bit about what makes a healthy breakfast. The superstar for breakfast is protein. Yes, we want to make sure we pick foods that are high in protein when we have our breakfast. This could be something like eggs, yogurt, granola, maybe a smoothie with protein powder, lots of options for a healthy breakfast. We also want to make sure it's well-rounded. So along with protein, we want to make sure we have some carbohydrates like fruits and veggies or maybe some whole grains and also some healthy fat. Fat's going to help our brain be ready to go. So if you're heading off to school or have an activity that day, you'll have a nice breakfast in your belly to keep you going. So Chef Sky, what is our healthy breakfast recipe for today?
Today's recipe is going to be a yogurt fruit parfait. This is an excellent breakfast that's packed full of healthy proteins, healthy fats, probiotics, which we're going to get to learn about later, and it's really delicious. So I'm really looking forward to making this dish with you and excited to get started.
So one popular breakfast food in America especially is cereal. And cereal can be really healthy if it's the right kind of cereal. We want cereal that has good fiber and protein and is low in sugar. But unfortunately, a lot of the box cereals and popular cereals out there just have too much sugar. And too much sugar can make us extra hyper in the morning and then crash later in the afternoon. So we want to make sure when we pick out our cereal, it's low in sugar, but high in fiber and high in protein. Protein is the superstar of any great breakfast. Protein from eggs, peanut butter, nuts and seeds, or maybe some yogurt will help us get energy and feel full in the morning and build those healthy muscles. When you decide what you're going to have for breakfast, think about what protein you want to include. There's lots of choices for healthy protein. You could have eggs, either scrambled or maybe a boiled egg. You could also turn that into an omelet or a burrito, add beans and cheese. You can even scramble up some tofu if eggs aren't for you. You've got lots of options for protein in the morning. What I like about this recipe we're making today is that it has a lot of great protein options when we make our granola. We have the nuts and the seeds, which are high in protein, and they're also full of healthy fats, especially that flaxseed.
Does anyone remember the first thing we do before we get cooking? That's right, we wash our hands. And today, since we're going to be using the oven just like last time, we're going to preheat our ovens as well. So, the temperature we're going to preheat to today is 325 degrees. Let's all go and wash our hands for 20 whole seconds. We're going to sing happy birthday out loud 2 times, okay? And we'll turn our ovens on to 325 degrees. So we've been cooking together for a few weeks now, and I think you know the next step. Before we get started cooking, we need to make sure everything's in its place, right? Do you remember the cooking term that we've been using the last few weeks that we've learned? Go ahead and shout it out now if you remember. That's right, it's mise en place, right? Everything in its place. So that means making sure we have all of our equipment we're going to use and making sure we have all the food that we're going to use together and ready to go before we get started cooking. First, let's talk about the equipment that we're going to need. First off, we'll need a cutting board and a knife. You'll also need measuring cups and measuring spoons to measure out our ingredients. You're going to need a large bowl like this, and then another bowl that's at least this big. Bigger is fine, but at least a nice medium bowl and a large bowl. You're gonna need your baking sheet, the same type of thing we use to make the pizza. You're also going to need a small plastic baggie and a heavy mug. Finally, you're going to need a tall glass like this and a spoon. One that has a long handle is good, because it's going to be all the way from the bottom to the top of this cup when we're done with it, and you want to be able to get in there with the spoon and eat every last bit. And that is going to be all the equipment that we need today. Now, let's talk about the ingredients that we're going to use in today's recipe. First, we'll talk about the dry ingredients. You're going to want rolled oats. You want the kind that have the whole oat visible, like that. These are very nutritious, and they're going to be the best for this recipe. You'll also need some nuts. Now, nuts are another great source of protein, so we want to make sure we have plenty of those in our granola. Today I have some almonds, but you can use whatever nuts you like at home. Walnuts are great. Cashews are delicious. Pecans are yummy in this as well. So any sort of nuts you like, go ahead and pick them up and put them all in there. We're also going to use sunflower seeds and flax seeds. We're also going to need our fresh fruits. Today, I've got mangoes, I've got apple, and I've got kiwis. But using other fruits, like fresh berries, or anything that you really enjoy. Bananas are great in there as well. All sorts of different fruits are amazing to put inside this parfait. So whatever your favorite fruits are, just go ahead and toss them in there. You can't go wrong with too much fruit. So for the wet ingredients, we're gonna need some apple juice and some maple syrup. When you go shopping for apple juice and maple syrup at the store, there's lots of different options. A general good rule is to look for apple juice that's cloudy, that you cannot see through. Generally, apple juice that's very thick and you cannot see through it is all packed full of nutrients and vitamins, and it's the most healthy type of apple juice you can get. So try to look for that when you're shopping for apple juice. Also, try to look for the word organic on the label, because that's even healthier. Also, real maple syrup is actually quite healthy for you and super sweet and delicious. So try to look for real maple syrup and try to look for that thick, cloudy, organic apple juice when you're shopping for your ingredients. We're also going to need nutmeg and cinnamon. Also, a bit of salt. And you'll need your yogurt. The yogurt is what we're gonna do in the parfait. Basically, it's gonna be a layer of yogurt, a layer of fruit, a layer of granola, more yogurt, more fruit, more granola, as much as we can fit in the cup. When you're shopping for your yogurt, what you want to look for is on the label on the back. Reading labels is a great way to get some information about what's in our food. So when you read the labels, it tells you a lot about what you're eating. And with yogurt, what we want to look for is 0 added sugars, okay? Some things have natural sugars in them, and our body needs some sugar. But when you see the word added sugar, that's when you know that they have put more sugar in it to make it taste sweeter. And this is going to be already so sweet with the fruit and with our homemade granola that we don't need yogurt that has added sugars. And plus, we don't want to eat things that are bad for us for no reason. Yogurt tastes great just as it is. So when you're shopping for yogurt, read that label and look for that line that says added sugars and look for the number 0. You don't want any added sugars in your yogurt. Finally, when we put it together after it comes out of the oven, we're going to use a bit of dried fruits. Dried cranberries are great here. Raisins are great here. What I actually have today is dried sour cherries, which are my favorite dried fruit. All of those are delicious, and dried fruits are packed full of nutrition. They're so nutritious for us, and they taste so good. So be sure to add some dried fruits. Now that we've got all of our equipment together, and we've got all of our ingredients ready to go, we're ready to start cooking. Now that we're ready to get started, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work with our dry ingredients. When measuring out our dry ingredients, we want to use measuring cups that look like this. Believe it or not, there is actually a difference between a dry measuring cup and a wet measuring cup. A wet measuring cup looks like this. They are usually made of glass and they're much bigger. And 1 cup of a dry measuring cup is actually a different amount than 1 cup in a wet measuring cup. So we want to make sure that when we're measuring dry ingredients, we're using dry measuring cups. The first ingredient we're going to add is going to be our oats. This recipe calls for 3 cups of oats, so that's how much we're going to add. I pull out my bag of oats here, open it up, and I've got my 1 cup measuring cup right here. And let's get 3 nice big cups of oats. And I've got my bowl here ready to go. And all of these dry ingredients can get mixed together right here in the bowl. 3 cups of oats. 2, and 1 more. That's 3. Beautiful. Now we can put our oats aside. The next thing we're going to add is going to be our sunflower seeds. The recipe calls for a 1/4 cup of sunflower seeds, so that's the cup we're going to use now. Go right in there. I like sunflower seeds, so I'm going to do a nice, generous 1/4 cup, and that goes right into the bowl with the oats. Then we can put our sunflower seeds aside. The next ingredient we're going to add is going to be our flax seeds. Now, flax seeds is an ingredient that some of you may not be familiar with. Flax seeds are these little guys here, and these are so packed full of nutrition. They can be used to make any sort of smoothie or any sort of breakfast. Basically, even any baked good, you can add these, and it just makes it so much more healthy for your digestive system, for your tummy. So if you put lots of flax seeds in the food that you eat, it's going to make your tummy feel really, really good. So this recipe is going to be calling for 2 tablespoons of flax seeds. Now there's a difference between the tablespoon and the teaspoon. Remember, the teaspoon is smaller, that's this one, and the tablespoon is bigger. So we're going for the tablespoon, 2 of them. 1 right into the bowl, and 2 right into the bowl. Now we can put our flax seeds aside. The last thing we're going to be adding here with the dry ingredients is our nuts. So for this part, we're going to need our bag and our crushing device. And this recipe calls for a 1/2 cup of crushed or chopped nuts. So since they're going to crush down a little bit when we chop them, we want to make sure we go a little bit over the top with our 1/2 cup, okay? So let's pull out a 1/2 cup of nuts right now. So check it out. See how my cup is coming up over the top and they're basically looking to spill off? That's what you want to look for, is a nice big 1/2 cup of nuts like that. We get our bag and we put all the nuts inside the bag. We've got our almonds all laid out flat in the bag. We've got our crushing device. Let's all just take them and go ahead and give them some crush. Now you can give it a little bit of nice big pounds. It's going to be a little bit loud, but that's okay. And you see how they're starting to break up there in the corner? That's what you want. You don't need them to be tiny because it's nice to get a big piece of almond or whatever nut you're using in with your granola, but we got to break them up. So let's go ahead and break them all up now. And then once we're finished with that, we can add them all to our bowl, and then we'll be ready to go on to the next step. And I think I'm going to stop right there. They're all nice and broken up, but not too small, so I'll still be able to taste them while they're in there. Now, I already measured this out before, so we know it's the right amount. That goes right in our bowl. And that is all of our dry ingredients. We've got our oats, we've got our flax seeds, we've got our sunflower seeds, and we've got our nuts. So we can go ahead, you can use your fingers or you can use a spoon if you want. Mix those all together nice and good. And once they are fully mixed, you can go ahead and put those aside and we'll be able to go on to our next step.
I really like this recipe today, especially the granola. Granola is a great source of protein, fat, and fiber. So we have these oats, which are really a great source of fiber. It's a whole grain. As we mentioned in some of our other classes, we want to look for whole grains whenever we can, so we can start our breakfast off with some of this oats. It also has nuts and seeds, which are high in protein and fat, which are good for our brain. That protein and fat is going to make us feel full longer. And if we're heading off to school or we have a workout, doing some sports or something, it's going to keep our energy up the whole time.
The next step in our recipe is to measure out our wet ingredients. So, just like with the dry ingredients, I've got a bowl ready to go. I've got my wet measuring cup. It's very important to keep it on a flat surface, because if this is angled, say I've got my fork here and I put it like this and I don't notice, oops, now it's at an angle and that's not going to give me a proper measurement. Also, when measuring, you want to get down and you want to be at eye level, so your eyes are at the same level as the measuring glass, so you can see it straight on from the side. Our recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of apple juice. Now, really good thick apple juice like this, it needs to be shaken or stirred before you use it. So if you have a bottle, go ahead and just shake it up. If you have a cup, give it a little stir so that it's nice and mixed together, okay? And then we are going to measure out 3/4 of a cup. So that's the part, right? That's right here, 3/4. Not quite 1 cup, more than 1/2, 3/4 of a cup, okay? So we're gonna pour that right into our bowl, and we can put our apple juice aside. The next ingredient is maple syrup. Now this recipe calls for 1/3 of a cup of maple syrup. My measuring cup actually only starts at 1/2. However, I can get it pretty close. I know that 1/3 is a little bit less than 1/2 a cup. So I'm just gonna go right under 1/2 a cup. And that's gonna be my 1/3 of a cup of maple syrup. And we're gonna add that in. Now, maple syrup sticks to the glass quite a bit, so it's a good idea to use a spoon or a spatula at this point, and you can get around and scrape the rest of that maple syrup out of there. So let's do that now and make sure we got every last bit. So for this part, we won't need the measuring cup. Instead, we will need our measuring spoon. So if you have a 1/2 teaspoon at home, that's great. If you only have a 1 teaspoon, that's fine as well. I'll show you how to use this one today. This is the 1 teaspoon, but the recipe only calls for a 1/2. So we're only gonna fill it up about halfway, and that's gonna go in there. That's our cinnamon. Next is the nutmeg, just about halfway. And then the same amount of salt as well. Let's take our fork or our spoon, whatever you've got, and let's just mix that together. Get around the sides, because sometimes the cinnamon and nutmeg want to stick to the sides of the bowl. And you should have a nice mixture that looks like this, so it doesn't have any more of that dry cinnamon or nutmeg on the top.
Now we need to remember, if we're going out to shop for breakfast foods like cereal or granola or yogurt on our own, you want to make sure you read the labels. A lot of these foods that are packaged in the stores tend to have a lot of sugar added to them. So look for those that have no sugar or low sugar content before you purchase it at the store. And that's why if you make these recipes at home, like your own homemade granola, you can control just how much sweetener you put in it. So adding natural sweeteners like maple syrup or honey or maybe some coconut sugar is a nice way to control how much sugar you're getting in your food. You'll also probably realize you don't need as much sweetness as you thought. The sweet little bit will go a long way.
After we've mixed together all of our dry ingredients into one bowl and all of our wet ingredients into another bowl, it's time to mix those together and get it in the oven. So for this step, we'll need all of our dry ingredients that we mixed together earlier. We'll need all of our wet ingredients that we mixed together earlier. And we'll need our baking sheet. All right, so let's take our big bowl of dry ingredients and let's take our little bowl of wet ingredients. And I think you know what comes next. Pour it all right in there. And you can use a spatula or a spoon or even just your hand to just make sure you get all the rest of the little bits out of there and into our bowl. Once that's done, we can use our hands and we're just going to mix it all together. It should be pretty wet actually when you're done with it. because the granola has to cook in the oven. So the wetness is all going to cook out of there, and it's going to be nice, crispy granola. So once it's all nice and mixed like that, clean your hands off, and it's ready to go into the oven. But first, we have to put it onto our baking sheet, right? So let's pull that out now, and let's take our granola and pour it all onto our sheet. It should all fit on a sheet this size. We can put everything else aside, and we want to spread it out and make it into a nice thin layer evenly across the whole pan. That way it all cooks evenly and you don't have certain spots that are wet because they were too tall and certain spots that are overcooked. And once you have it spread out like that, you can take it over and you can put it in the oven. But when you put it in, make sure you set a timer for 10 minutes because this recipe, unlike the other recipes we've done, involves us taking it out of the oven after 10 minutes and mixing it and then putting it back in again. And we have to do that actually a few times so that way the bottom doesn't get burnt. Usually when I make this recipe, it takes about 30 minutes total time in the oven to cook. So that means we're stirring it twice throughout that time. But depending on your oven at home, it might take a little bit longer or it might cook a little bit quicker. So just make sure we're checking it every 10 minutes. And then if you're still cooking it after 30 minutes, check it every 5 minutes after that. So remember, 10 minutes for the first 3 times. And then after that, you have to check it every 5 minutes to make sure that it's not burning, because at that point it's going to be very close to being done. So we're going to put it in our oven, which we heated up to 325 degrees earlier, and we're going to set a timer for 10 minutes, okay?
Now that granola is in the oven, it's time to get up and get moving. So let's check in with Holly and see what our fun fitness activity is this week.
Hey kids, I'm Axel Awesomeness Man, infamous fitness guru. Today, Holly is going to be leading you through totally awesome 80s aerobics, a special routine I designed myself just for this class. Aerobics is an excellent workout because it works many groups of muscles all at the same time. You can follow a video or make it up as you go, but you'll definitely want some background music with a snappy beat. One way to make your aerobics routine extra awesome is to wear a special workout suit, especially one made of spandex. All right, Holly, take it away.
Hey kids, are you ready for some totally awesome 80s aerobics? I know I sure am. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's have you start out by marching. Now, while we're doing aerobics, one of the most important things is to keep moving the whole time, keep your heart rate up and your muscles moving, okay, and building. So, if it takes you a few minutes to catch on to the movement we're doing, just march while you're doing it. Okay, so let's have you go ahead and move your feet apart, bend your knees, and we're gonna breathe in and up and out and down. Breathe in and out and in and out. All right, walk it out. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is we're gonna do a slide from side to side with some jazz hands like this. Slide, 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 slide. Now join me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, march it out. Good job. Okay, then next we are gonna do some hops from side to side with our knee up and our hands raised. We're gonna do opposite knees on each side, okay? Hop, hop, up, hop, hop, up, hop, hop, up, hop, hop, up. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Work it. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, march it out. Okay, good job. Okay, our next move is gonna be, we're gonna raise our knee and do some bicep curls, alternating sides, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Work it. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Okay, walk it out. Good job, guys. Next, we're gonna do some side lunges and punch our arm down at the same time, okay? Just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Good job. Okay, march it out, march it out. We're gonna move on to windmills. So you're gonna raise your hands up to your head, and then you're gonna pull up your opposite knee and do your best to touch your opposite toe. It's okay if it doesn't touch, just remember to pull with your lower abs and not with your shoulders, okay? All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Okay, good job. Walk it out. Okay, so we're gonna slow it down a little. We're gonna do some low back kicks with forward punches. Now for this move, don't worry about lifting your leg high. We're gonna be working our lower back muscles and our gluteus maximus, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. All right, good job. Okay, we're getting near the end of our workout here. So, our next move is going to be a sideways curl, okay? With our knee and our arm. So, what you're gonna do is you're gonna balance on one leg, bend the knee, put your hand on that hip. Then with your opposite side, you're gonna pull your arm down and your knee up. You wanna make sure you're using your core and your abs. Now, if you can't balance, go ahead and lean on something that's nearby, like a chair or a table, okay? Because we don't want you to fall over. All right, let's do it. 1, 2, work it. 3, 4, push it. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now switch sides. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Good job. Okay, walk it out. All right, we're gonna start to cool it down. We're almost done. We're gonna do some toe taps from side to side with our hands just on our hips, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Okay. All right then, walk it out real slow. We're gonna cool it down. We're gonna do some cool down breathing just like we did at the beginning. So let's put your feet apart, bend those knees. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. All right, good job today, you guys. Well, I hope you had fun today. I hope you got your heart rate up, worked it, burned some calories, and built some muscle today with me. I definitely had fun. Thank you so much for participating, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Bye!
So our timer has gone off and our granola has been in the oven for 10 minutes. And here is what it looks like now. Be careful to always use a hot pad when you're pulling hot things out of the oven. As you can see, it's starting to cook a little bit, but it's still actually a little bit wet on top. So this is why we stir it now and we turn it. That way it cooks evenly. So using the hot pad to hold your pan, and you're gonna just go ahead and stir that granola up. You want to scrape it along the bottom so that you're getting the stuff off the pan that's sort of stuck to it. That's the goal here. Sometimes you can come from the edges like this. So make sure you hold it tight with your other hand. So I've gotten it all scraped up off the pan. I get those goodies off of my spatula, right? And even these little bits that are on the table, I'm gonna kind of keep those all in there. And now we're gonna spread it back out. Now that we've mixed it together, spread, 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 spread. Make it a nice thin layer again, as even as you can, all the way across. And then it's gonna go back in the oven, and we set the timer for 10 minutes again. And after 10 minutes, we do the same thing again, okay? Until it is completely cooked. So now that our granola is in the oven and cooking, let's go ahead and chop up our fruits so that we can be ready to assemble it when it comes out. Now, do you remember the two most important things for knife safety? I bet you do. As a reminder, you keep your offhand in the shape of a claw. If you're right-handed, that's going to be your left hand. If you're left-handed, it's going to be the other hand. Shape of a claw, so you can protect your fingers while you're holding your vegetable. In the hand you're chopping with, you hold the knife by putting one finger under, pinching it with your thumb, and holding the handle with those 3 fingers, okay? Just like that. Then when you're chopping, you're pushing away from yourself, slicing through the vegetable, okay? So if you remember those things, the claw, and how to hold the knife, slice away from yourself, you'll be very safe when using your knives. So we're gonna practice those things again today. So we've got our knife, our cutting board, our fresh fruit, and I've gathered a few bowls to put my fruit in, and let's go ahead and start chopping. The first thing we're gonna chop is going to be the apple. Now for an apple, you need to remove the core. An easy way to do that is to take it like this. Be very careful, okay? Take the knife between your hands, and look where my knife is. I'm not right at the center. I'm at the edge, okay? Cut that straight down, and look at that. That gives us a nice chunk of apple to work with, and it gives us a flat surface to cut on. Before we had this rolly apple that wants to roll around. Now it's nice and flat. If we want more apple now, we can put the flat surface down like this, and we can cut another portion off. This one has a little bit of core in the middle. If you do, that's okay. You can just cut that right out easily. That little bit can be composted. It can even be fed to chickens or other animals. So we'll put that aside and actually save it. Now this is going to be about enough apple for what we need. I'm going to put that aside for now. Now let's work on our mango. How do we get the mango from this big rolly thing down to something we can cut? Well, the mango has a big seed in the middle, so you can't cut it at the center either. So we're going to do basically the same thing we did with the apple. Take it in your hand like this, over the top. Put the knife between like this, but look, not right in the middle, off to the side. You see that? Most of it's over there. Hand goes over the top, and that's going to cut right around the seed. See, look at that. That's a nice bit of mango. That right there is all seed, and that's all mango we can eat. So, then if we want a little bit more mango, we can do the same thing we did with the apple, but the big seed is much bigger in a mango than it is with an apple, so you got to be careful so you don't chop into the seed, okay? Then we've got our mango. Now the last one is the kiwi. The kiwi has this skin that's got to come off, so does the mango. So for a kiwi, here's what I do, is it's also a rolly fruit, right? So we take it, but with the kiwi, we can actually go right down the center of the kiwi, right in the middle. That makes it into 2 halves. Those are nice and flat. Let's do the same thing again. Cut it right down the middle. Look at that. Okay. Then we're ready to take our skins off of our mango and our kiwi. First, let's deal with the mango. These we can peel by hand, but not when it's in such a big piece like this. So I'm going to take my mango piece and I'm going to cut it in half, both of them, just like that. See how my fingers are far away? I'm being very careful with my knife. Then we can put our knife aside. Now a nice ripe mango, you should be able to just take your fingers and peel the skin right off, just like that. This peel also makes excellent compost, so I'm going to put that aside and save it for later for my compost. Now we've got some mango that we can cut. Let's do the same thing with our kiwis. Just take our skin and we're just gonna use our fingers and peel it right off. Just like this. See how easy that comes off? So let's go ahead and do our kiwi now too. If you're adding bananas or oranges, of course you know how to peel those off yourself already, but these are some fruits that you might not have used before, so this is how you get them ready to chop. Gonna put this with my pile of fruit scraps and save it for later. Now that we've peeled our fruits, let's go ahead and get our knives and we're gonna carefully chop them. Starting with the kiwi, if you kind of line them up like this, you can cut it into little slices, just like this. It's very easy, but you just gotta be careful and go slow. And then if we turn them this way, we can cut them again. And we've got nice little pieces of kiwi ready to use. Let's move on to our mango. Mango, let's do the same thing. Cut it into some slices. Be very careful with your fingers. You don't have to go as fast as me, take your time. And after we've cut them into the strips like that, turn the strips sideways. See, just like this. And then do it again this way. Then, look at that. We've got nice pieces of mango to go into our parfait. Finally, let's move on to our apples. The apples already have a flat surface, and you don't need to peel an apple before you eat it, right? So let's just cut the apple into nice little thin pieces. Look at that. And then this is the part you have to be really careful. Use that claw, and we're gonna push away from ourselves. And you have to hold the apple together, kind of. Otherwise it wants to fall apart. You see how I'm pushing away from myself as I cut. And now, we've got nice little pieces of apple as well. And we are ready to put our parfaits together. So let's go ahead and see how our granola is doing in the oven. All right, so our granola was in the oven today for 40 minutes here at my house. So that means I pulled it out 5 times to check it, and I turned it each time. Once after 10 minutes, again after 20, and then again after 30, and then again 2 times, 35 minutes and 40 minutes, and then it was done. So I like mine a little bit crispy, so you're gonna have to be the judge of how crispy you want it. But we'll take a look at what our granola looks like, and you can see the color of it, and then you can be the judge from there. So let's take a look at what it looks like, and then we'll get to assemble our parfaits. So here we've got our cooked granola. As you can see, it's a really nice, beautiful golden brown color. You don't want to go any darker than this because if you do, it'll start to taste burnt. But here the nuts are going to be nice and crispy and roasted and crunchy, and this is going to be a really delicious granola. You want to give it a little bit of time to cool after it comes out of the oven before you eat your parfait, because if you put the hot granola onto the yogurt, it's going to melt it and it's going to be a little bit weird. But before we assemble our parfait, we're going to add our dried fruit. So let's all pull out our dried fruits, whether you're using cranberries or raisins or whatever you're using. And we've got our 1 cup measuring cup. The recipe calls for 1 cup of dried fruits. So we can just measure this right over. That way, if we spill any, it just falls right in. And we've got a cup of our dried fruits. So we're just gonna dump that right into our finished granola and kind of break it up a little bit so they don't stick together. And then let's mix that right in there. Get it all mixed in. See, I'm pulling them apart when I see them stick together because that way they get evenly mixed all through the granola. Great, that looks perfect. Now that that's finished, we can go ahead and we can pull out our yogurt and our fruit, and we can get ready to assemble our parfaits in our glasses, and then we get to eat them. So here we've got our fruits that we chopped up earlier. We've got our finished granola. We've got our yogurt ready to go, and we've got our glass ready to assemble it in. Now here I've got a nice big spoon. You can use your tablespoon from earlier if you want, but we're just going to go ahead and start assembling. So the first thing we do is put a nice scoop of yogurt down at the bottom. Go ahead and do 2 scoops if you want, but you want a nice little layer of yogurt down at the bottom of your glass. Okay, see, it's just a little bit. Then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put a little bit of fruit in. I'm gonna do a few pieces of apple, a few pieces of kiwi. I'll show you inside, and a little bit of mango. I've got a lot of mango actually, so I'll put a little more mango in there. Then we're gonna take a bit of our granola, right? I'm gonna use my other hand because it's dry. And we're gonna put a couple of little scoops of granola in there. So we get a nice layer of the yogurt, then the fruit, then the granola. And then, what's next? You guessed it. We do it again. Let's take some yogurt and put it in there. A couple of scoops, make a nice layer. You can even use your spoon like I am here to make the layer nice and flat. A little bit of fruit. Go with some kiwi, some apples, some mangoes in there, and some granola. You can put as much as you want. That's the beauty of this. You don't have to follow exactly how much the recipe says. If you want more granola or if you want a whole lot of fruit, that's fine, put more. I'm gonna go one more layer here. I think I can do one more layer. Put some yogurt on top. Put some of my fruit, because I want to use up all this fruit if I can. Whatever's left on the board here, I promise I'll eat later. And then, just like that. And we have our parfait. And this is a beautiful breakfast. If you look at it from the side, you can see the layers going all the way up to the top. And that is finished and ready to eat.
Now, when we put the parfait together, we add that yummy granola, which is really great with fat, protein, and fiber, and we mix it in with some yummy fruit, which is going to be full of nice vitamins and minerals. And then we add in the yogurt, which is high in probiotics. Probiotics are the good bacteria in our bellies, and it helps us stay healthy, and it helps boost the immune system as well. So now we have a really well-balanced breakfast to get us started for the day.
Alrighty, let's go ahead and dig in. I had a wonderful time cooking with you today, and I hope you enjoyed being breakfast chefs with me. I hope you learned a little bit about healthy breakfasts and about why eating a healthy breakfast is so important, and about what to look for when you're shopping for certain foods like this at the supermarket. So I hope you try this recipe at home and eat healthy, delicious breakfasts like this as often as you can. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week.
Well, everybody, that was another great class and a yummy recipe from Chef Sky. Thanks so much, Chef Sky, for being with us today. And kids, thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this class. There's some handouts to go along with it, and we can't wait to see you next time so we can start cooking up something yummy again. Have a great day, everybody.